Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've been on here, but I'm back. We're gonna be looking over our / no sleep. My daughter is obsessed with Disney. In fact, she doesn't want to be called by her real name anymore. She insists on being named Elsa, Queen of Ice. She has all the merchandise and all the movies on DVD. Every time Disney releases a new movie in cinema, she insists that she has to see it. Frozen, Moana, Mulan. She knows it by heart and will spoil it if you ask her. Last Christmas, I was at a loss on what to get her. Encanto had just come out, and not only had she watched it 3 times, she already had bought every single piece of merchandise that had come with the movie. Surprised me, she said with a wink, when I begged her for gift ideas. After weeks of racking my brain, I decided to just search on the internet for the perfect gift. Before long, I come across an old video browsing site just off the edge of the dark web. There was an old Disney DVD for sale. It was made in the old 2D animation, not the new 3D animation, state-of-the-art animation. Like the modern Disney films, it was advertised as the Lost Disney Film, something they made but never released. In fact, it had no official title. The website simply said, "The Lost Disney Movie, available now." It was relatively cheap too, only $25 with free shipping. It came just in time for Christmas. Elsa squealed in joy when she ripped open the wrapping paper.
I thought I watched every one,
She shouted. "This one's special," I winked at her. Elsa insisted on watching it the moment we finished dinner, and I obliged. Running it on the old TV, the movie was nothing really special, just the same old Disney plot. The princess lives on her island her entire life, finds a handsome shipwrecked prince, falls in love, etc. Honestly, it was the cheesiest thing I ever came across. But Elsa loved it. She wanted to watch it again and again. "It's bedtime, darling," I said at last, when the clock struck midnight.
No!
She whined, her eyes still fixated on the screen, so I yanked the plug out of the television. Elsa still hadn't moved. Her eyes were still glued to the screen. I couldn't help but peek at the screen. My heart dropped to my stomach when I realized the movie was still playing. The characters were dancing and laughing across the island. "Elsa, it's time for bed, sweetie," I called it again shakily. This was not normal. I reminded myself to call the electrician when Christmas was over.
Later!
Elsa muttered without looking at me. The characters were still laughing on the screen. It was like they were laughing at me. The next morning, the movie was still on the TV. The long cord snaked across the room, the plug grinning at me. Elsa had not moved. Her jaw was slack and her eyes were red, and she was still as a statue. "Elsa, breakfast," I said. Elsa did not respond. I stood in between her and my television set. "Elsa, breakfast!" I nearly shouted. Elsa still said nothing. A dribble of saliva ran down from her open mouth. Her pupils were dilated and her face was throbbing. It had only been one night, but it was as if she had not slept for days.
Leave me alone.
She gurgled sleepily. This was not normal. Nothing I did would make her stop watching the movie. Dragging her away was impossible. It was like she was glued to the spot. I tried throwing a blanket over it, but it caught fire and crumbled to ashes on the floor with a hiss. Finally, desperately, I tried to smash the TV, but the hammer simply bounced off the glass. I swung the hammer again, but this time, the hammer crumbled into smithereens at my feet. The cartoon continued to play, every word a taunting reminder of my attempts. In the end, I gave up. Nothing worked. I kept a wary eye on her as the days slipped by. Then she started changing. Her face grew as white as bone, her skin grew translucent until I could see inside of her. Her eyes were pale and bloodshot, her jaw too slack. She barely responded to me when I called her name. As she grew more interested in the film, sliding closer and closer as the days went by. Then one day, all was silent. I called Elsa's name, but she did not even grunt. Then I made the mistake of looking at the television set. There she was, frolicking happily on the island of all the characters. A blur of pixels on the screen. I screamed her name and banged on the screen. It was like she couldn't hear me. Like she was there all along. I kinda regret buying the lost movie off the internet now, especially since I lost my daughter. Too good to be true, as the saying goes. How I wish I hated that warning. Especially since, as I pen these words, I hear my daughter's sweet voice from the television set, inviting me to watch the movie and be with her, frolicking on the island paradise like the old days. Should I? I couldn't fathom losing family members to a television set. Tell me what you guys think, and thank you, Simba the Savage. I will link you down below. I followed my best friend through the woods. My friend Astrid was the most beautiful soul I've ever met. She was the kind person who would do anything for her friends, and when she was with a person, she was 100% invested in them, their story, their life. When she asked how someone was feeling, she genuinely meant it. She was the friend who made me want to be the best version of myself. A friend I would do anything for, even if it meant leaving my comfort zone far behind. That's why when she led me down a narrow path in the remote Michigan wilderness, along the vast Lake Superior, I followed her, unquestionably. I didn't remember exactly how we got there, or what came before. All I can think of were my immediate surroundings. The lapping of the waves against the distant shore, the cry of the gulls circling for fish, the slight chill of the August air as it weaved through the towering pines promised an early autumn this year, but the warmth of the sun against my skin, letting the air know summer wasn't quite done playing. Most importantly, out of all those things, I saw my beautiful companion, my best friend in the whole world, walking ahead of me, talking and laughing. There's no place else I would rather be. My heart was full. I followed her without question, not knowing or even caring where we came from, where we were going, or hell, even what time of day it was. I was usually a meticulous planner, but the details I would fret over before a trip simply did not matter. I couldn't help but notice how lovely she looked. I mean, she was always radiant, but this time, she's simply a thrill. Unnatural almost. Her wavy brown hair fell gracefully to her lower back, emitting a soft glow. I assumed it was from the sun. She was in her best hiking outfit, gray pants, keen boots, an LL Bean wicking shirt. She even wore that bright scarf I made her for Christmas this past year. I noticed her boots made no sound as she walked, making her look as if she were floating. A fairy princess leading me into the mystical forest. I laughed aloud at the thought, the sound stopping her abruptly. She turned to face me with a questioning look. "Where are you taking me, dear?" I asked. She pressed a finger to her lips, urging me to be silent, pointed ahead of us, where the trail broke in the trees, leading to a cliff overlook. I walked ahead. As I got closer to the cliff, the blissful feeling I had throughout our journey turned out to be bitter coldness within my heart. I stopped just shy of the cliff, not wanting to go any further. For some reason, I was afraid to look over the edge. I felt something ice cold on my shoulder. It was her hand. She squeezed reassuringly, urging me to go forth. When I got to the edge, I felt a gust of cool air whip in my face. As I squinted my eyes for a better look, a flash of bright red appeared on the lower edge of my vision. My heart was pounding. I looked down there. It was the scarf I made Astrid for Christmas last year, the one she's wearing. But how? I turned around and she was nowhere in sight. I stepped back into the woods. The path we walked turned out to be more of a makeshift footpath, or deer path. I frantically tried to retrace my steps. I didn't get too far when I saw a group of individuals in neon vests walking side by side. It looked as if they were combing the forest. I looked down at my own clothes to find I was wearing a similar vest. As if a spell were broken, I realized why I was out here in the woods. Astrid had gone missing last week after a solo hiking trip. I managed to tell the police where her scarf was. Sure enough, the body was found in the lake shortly after a boat was dispatched to the bottom of the cliff. The most wonderful day in my life spent with my favorite person, and with me losing her forever. I would hate to be in that situation. To spend the last moments of my life with the person I like the most, as a memory. or a vision. They're coming for us. When I was about 5 years old, I shared a room with my brother, and we had a TV. One night, I decided to stay up later than usual. While my brother was asleep, I was watching Teen Titans. When in the middle of the episode, it was wildly interrupted, with static and a strange voice speaking out.
This is the end for humanity. You have created much turmoil. It is time for you to be exterminated.
My heart sank to the floor. I didn't know if this was a nightmare or if it was real, a prank on TV or for something for Halloween. All I know is, if it was real, we need to prepare. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope to make more videos this year, and hopefully you will be there to watch. Anyway, take care.